everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cryptic Commander. We are your hosts. I'm John Nosei.
This is Onik.
And we are proudly sponsored by North Valley Games, where you can go to northvalleygames.com and enter that promo code TCC and save 10% off your whole order. Not to forget, they got that program where they're buying your singles. Enter the same promo code and get 10% more cash. Sponsored by Artopia. Sponsored by Hobby Goblins. Sponsored by Legend Rise Gaming. Partnered with Magic the Gathering Players Group Facebook group, and partnered with Cosmic Gaming. We have a special guest with us this week, all the way from the land of Twitter. I know it's MsEldritch, right? Miss Eldritch.
Yeah, Miss. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Hi. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
How are you?
Yay.
So I
I'm
told
doing
you.
great.
Thank you. I told you. I think it was last week that I've been a fan of yours for a long time. And I just had the gumption. I had the gumption today for the first time to say, "Hey, man, Onik, she's got some risque things going on over on Twitter."
I do, as a matter of fact. That's for a different type of podcast, you know. I'm here to talk about magic.
Yeah, right. No, right, exactly. And we got a card of the week, like we do every week. We sent you a picture of it, Onik.
Archangel Elspeth. In the story for a while, we kind of knew that Elish Norg was like haunted by the visions of Elspeth and whatnot, but now basically she's gone Super Saiyan. I think she's been like blessed by Sarah, so she's just going ballistic, and she pretty much just the one who basically dismantles the Phyrexians. Legendary creature Elspeth, legendary planeswalker Elspeth, 2 white for 4 loyalty. +1, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. -2, put 2 +1/+1 counters on a target creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types and gains flying. It does not end at end of turn. Return all, -6, return all non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I just noticed the -2 is, like, as I was reading it, I just noticed it doesn't say until end of turn. And that's, it permanently gains flying. Like, she's like, all right, you're an angel, we're all angels today. That's pretty strong.
That was very strong.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to find a spot for her in my cube. I'm kind of looking forward. This is going to be in Martian Machines, which is releasing in about 2 to 3 weeks from today.
Hold on one second here. I just did. Okay, our Patreon's trying to join. Hold on. Click the link, bro. Click that link. He's so goofy. You know, I'm looking at this card, and I have a friend that has an all-white, so mono-white, commander deck. And I believe uses an Elspeth that you can use it for the commander as the commander. And I can see this fitting right into that bad puppy.
I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't.
And this is a very sick card all by itself. I mean, plus... it's coming out turn 4, right? Or turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a 4 mana, so default, I guess, turn 4.
You know, I mean, I'm quick to cheat and stuff in, man. You know, I like using stuff like Everflowing Chalice or Mana Dorks.
Mm-hmm. Soul Ring could get it out early.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I have a commander deck with Luris as the commander, so this would be kind of perfect because, it creates tokens when you need them with lifelink, so you can just kind of keep popping out tokens if you need to. Gaining flying with some counters is really strong. At least in Commander, it can be... flyers are sort of a typical weakness for me because I like a lot of combat on the ground, so if you're not paying attention, you just put that whatever horrible creature in the air, and then it can smack people around. And then the -6 is perfect because I love reanimating, and Luris loves things, 3 CMC or lower, so just pull all that out of the graveyard, and then you get a whole field of creatures. So
with your deck, it's basically can reanimate everything.
Exactly. So this would be perfect include, and also the art is just stunning, in my opinion. Yeah.
I
don't know if you've ever had those... go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you ever have those moments, I feel like there's a term for it, but there's those moments in like Lord of the Rings or the Marvel movies where you sort of see like Gandalf coming over the hill, and then you get the horses, or you get in Marvel where sort of the portals start opening, and suddenly there's all these armies, like that tipping point when everything feels really hopeless, and then all of a sudden this thing appears, or in this case, Elspeth. She sort of transforms into this angel, and then sort of helps tip the battle, and finally helps put things in favor of the good guys. And so
Yep.
the art just gives me goosebumps like thinking about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities with her original card, Elspeth Knight Errant, from
Ooh.
Shards, because they're both are 4 mana, 4 loyalty. Both the +1s put a token into play, but the new one just gives a lifelink. The second ability both give a creature a power toughness boost and flying. So there's a lot of callbacks from a new one to the original one.
Cards like Polymorph, and then you got Mass Polymorph. This reminds me of that because you had Sun Titan, right? Every time it comes into play or whenever you attack with it, or becomes tapped or something like that, a permanent 3 or less comes in the battlefield. And this ultimate is all. And I'm telling you, that could be really sick. I mean, wow, man. I haven't seen a sick ultimate like that since Jace the Mind Sculptor.
You really need to kind of build around it, though. Because if 3 Mana Valley 3 or less, that's depending on the deck, it's like your average deck might be like half it.
Yeah.
Half the targets, but if you really build towards it, this would be your top end.
During the deck building process, you would almost look at this as like a companion kind of a build. Like, I'm gonna need this. Yeah. Well, that's a really good card of the week, man.
Very pivotal to the story. I mean, as you can see, if you're looking at the card on the bottom of it, it says story spotlight. So this is a major turning point in the story.
Also, if you've been following along, the cards are becoming more and more current, as far as card of the week. Remember when I first started doing card of the week, we had...
You were picking random ass cards, dude.
Well, come on. Gesture's Cap is a good card. And then you
yes. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not iconic, but...
Yeah. Dark Ritual was one at one point. I believe Counterspell was one at one point. I mean, come on.
Dark Ritual's my favorite.
Classics, man. Classics.
All right, you're absolutely right. They're classics. But I'm trying to... because we could do like hundreds of like old school cards,
right?
Like Wild Mongrel could be like a card too, for example. And it's just today it's just like a common that most people wouldn't really understand, but back then, that was like the center of the deck.
Rock's Warmonk is card of the week.
Well, I think it's fun to have a balance of like one of my favorite things about Commander is playing against people and being like, oh, what is that card? I've never seen that before. And you get a chance to like see things you've never seen before, go back into the, the giant pool that is the Commander, cards. But then, like this, in this case, we've got Elspeth, which is very pivotal to exactly what's going on in the story, and it's about to release. So I think it's great.
We're going to head over to a quick segment. It's called Movers and Shakers. Hold on one second. My internet just went down, but you guys will be safe in the room. It's okay. Bear with me here. Bear with me.
We're nice and safe.
Yeah, you guys will bear with me here. I still have you. It says so right here. All right. This is now I know at the beginning of the podcast that I say a lot of sponsors and partners, and this segment has its own sponsor. This segment, Movers and Shakers, is brought to you by MTGstocks. Now, I know we've said it before, and it's probably new to our guest, but we also have another sponsor on board, Onique. I just got done making arrangements with Ultimate Guard. So this is the first time.
Really?
This is the first time anyone's going to hear anything about this. So I waited until the right moment to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. And so we're going to do some work with Ultimate Guard. And the first task is to do a box opening. They sent me a bunch of mystery items, including brand new products. And that was highlighted. They're like, we're going to send you some brand new products on top of some other goodies. And they were hoping I could do a mystery box opening. So starting us off this week with Movers and Shakers, Again, brought to us by mtgstocks.com. Maze of Ith. Now, I'm looking at some kind of Ravnica version. Is that what I'm looking at here?
I'm not so sure what you're looking at. Are you
Dragon's Maze, DMR. It says DMR. Dragon's Maze.
oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Dominaria
Yeah,
Remastered?
no, so
Dominaria
yeah, that's
Remastered?
Dominaria Remastered.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's $3.47, slowly moving down. I have a version of this, but I do have the original version, which I can't even tell what the artwork is on that original version.
Oh, from the dark?
Yeah. Yeah. I bought that bad puppy, was only like $17 or something.
It looks like a brain or something.
Does it?
I don't know. Yeah, if you look at the old school, the original version of Maze of Ith from the dark, it's I don't know what
Is that what it looks like to you? It looks like a brain?
Or nucleus or something, but it's a maze.
What do you think, Mrs. Eldritch? What do you think, Miss Eldritch?
Which print? Oh, let me see. Which printing are we looking at? Oh,
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
The dark.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, I don't know which one. That's the one.
How would you describe that artwork there?
I think that's I think sort of both of those. You have kind of the gray matter and waviness of a brain, but then you have, it looks like maybe appendages or something of a nucleus. So
yeah. Man, I've never.
I'm going to say both.
Yeah, see, she's tossed. She's tossed.
But I actually just bought one of these cards for one of my commander decks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a nice kind of just toss it in there and you sort of forget about it until someone comes at you, and then you're like, actually,
we're
just going to untap that, remove it. I don't take damage from it.
Yeah, and it's just a land that does it. It's like you got to tap no other mana or nothing, just this guy by itself.
Mm-hmm.
I know,
exactly.
right?
I love lands like that where if you don't have any kind of land destruction, then it's just there, and I get to tap it, and it keeps me safe.
This copy is only $3.47. That's why we call it a cheap pickup. Another good cheap pickup, the Golden Throne. It's $5.24. Slowly moving down. I don't really remember playing with this guy.
It's from the Warhammer 40K.
That's why. Okay.
The Golden Throne.
That's why. We got one from a set called NCC. I guess it's a commander one.
Yeah, New Capenna Commander.
Currency Converter. It's $4.50. Moving up! Exclamation point. It's a premium penny stock feature card, and it's reached its bottom, and it's starting a constant uptrend. So I'd get it before it goes up to the $5 mark.
Mm-hmm.
But coming at number 3 this week, did you want to add something to that, Onique?
No, you're good.
Okay. This one, hold on to your belly buttons. hold on to your belly buttons. Coming at number 3, Reckless Impulse, $3.47. This bad boy's up 244%. That's how we're starting this off this week, bud. You see that shooting straight up, Onique?
Yeah, and it's in response to Expressive Iteration getting banned. So Reckless Impulse, Reckless Impulse is kind of finding a spot in those decks.
Okay.
I mean, it's in a way it is kind of like a draw 2. Because you exile top 2 cards of your library, then until end of your next turn, you may play those cards. So you can play the lands, and you have the 2 turns, the current one and the next one to play it. Okay. Though this one specifically is talking about the double feature version, the one that's like black and white with that crisp red border on it. It does look good.
Yes.
But the one from Crimson Vow itself is like $1.25, and that's pretty nice for a common. I think I have one foil somewhere.
Now, number 2 this week is in the rare slot. It's called Brought Back, $3.41. It's up 44%. But
Brought Back.
Brought Back. Yeah, you remember that guy?
I mean, not me looking. I would say not me looking at this for my Luris deck. You're just feeding me ideas.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But number 1 this week.
Drum roll.
It's up 439%. $6.95. Soul Spike. It isn't the first time this instant from Cold Snap is spiking.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Because back in 2015, an interaction between Grizzlebrand and Necrotic Ooze. Do you remember that, Onique?
I mean, I know those cards, but I've seen this card before. Because to me, it's 7 mana. A Soul Spike deals 4 damage to target creature player, and you gain 4 life. That to me is a horrible rate, but it does have an alternate cost of you may exile 2 cards from your hand instead of paying the mana cost. To me, that's still a bad cost because you're paying essentially 3 cards to drain, 4 life. I don't see to me, it's not a card for me, but with Grizzlebrand, I mean, you're drawing 7 cards and you're paying 7 life, so there's compensation in that sense.
When we go to top decks, we always mention Rakdos Burn. I even say in Pioneer, Rakdos Burn, or was it Rakdos Sacrifice with Cat Oven, right? But at any rate, this combo from 2015, it was so sick. I was ready to see a banning. It never happened. Now, in the past few weeks, it's been putting up some results on MTGO. It's where Soul Spike's included. 4 copies. Now, what's interesting about this deck is... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say any kind of recursion or reanimating. I mean, it gives you a perfect, not only, you gain some life, you hit somebody, and then you also get to put 2 cards in the grave. So if you have any kind of a giant demon in your hand, for example, that you want to pull back out for very cheap, toss it in the graveyard, and then you get to bring it back with any number of, any number of unearthing, reanimating, animate dead, all that kind of stuff for way cheaper. So, I mean, if you need a discard outlet.
Well, you're exiling them.
Correct. Oh, you're exiling. Oh.
Yeah. If it was discard, I'd be on board.
Yeah.
But exile is oh no.
Well, it's working. The one I'm thinking of is because of Goose, but the new way they're doing
it's removing. It's the wording. Removing 2 cards from the game.
Correct.
Yeah.
The old. Yes.
Removing the game was exile. Yeah, it was the old terminology. Kind of like interrupt was instant. But
right.
So this guy's moving up. When I said earlier, you see this guy spiking. This number 1 is shooting straight.
Soul Spike spiking.
Yeah, it's shooting straight up in the air, man. It wouldn't surprise me if next week it would be sitting at $10. And did I mention that this is a common?
No, it's not.
Oh,
liar.
Let me look.
I see some gold on that symbol.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a rare.
Oh, brother.
I mean, that's okay. I thought it was a graveyard versus exile. We're all learning together.
Hey, yeah, right? It goes along with our mission statement, actually. Magic the Gathering is best with a communal experience, and a big part of that's when it stems from knowledge. Getting assistance where needed makes it more enjoyable. So that goes with our mission statement. Hey, you do learn something new every day. And that is our movers and shakers. What's next on the slate, Onik?
Oh, speaking of learning, I just want to kind of bring up something that happened last night. Because, I do my FNMs every week with draft. 2 weeks ago, we had 15 for the draft. And there was 4 or 5 first or second time drafters, which got me really excited because I just I don't know, I want to help them and make sure to feel comfortable and not get overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
Hoping that they would be back, I brought all my draft chaff that I had in my house with me so I could just give it to them. None of them were there last week. They just didn't come back. But this week, 2 other new guys showed up. And I still had all my stuff in my car, so I just literally handed to them here you go, guys. I had 700 cards, and I don't think they really quite understood what I meant by I got a box of cards. Maybe they were thinking a small handful. So I just come in with these 3 little boxes and just kind of they're full, and so I just put it down in front of them, and they're staring at me oh wait, I can have all of it. And I'm yeah, dude, have at it. I don't care about these cards. To me, they're it's junk, but to you, it's
building a collection.
It's 7 decks right there.
Yeah. I get it, man.
Yeah, that was cool. That made me happy to A, get rid of it, and B, just see them get excited. So I hope they come back next week.
Speaking of excitement, I know it's been out. The news of this has been out for at least a week or something. The ring. They're going to print a 1 of 1 card. Only 1 card, but I already see proxies of this being sold Secret Lair style. You can get extended art and gold frame and black frame and white frame. And I'm being serious when I say this, by the way. I see different versions already on sale, and I'm being serious. But I just want to get your thoughts, and I want to put my thoughts on it too, guys. I know it's been out. The news has been out for a week again, like I said earlier. But let's start with MsEldritch. What do you think about the one?
I know there's been a lot of I mean, I can kind of see both perspectives, right? Of people, just sort of your average player might be kind of rolling their eyes. I do think it's really flavorful and really fun for collectors, just to kind of have that like ultimate chase card. So, I mean, I would assume that they would probably have some kind of or I would hope anyway, some kind of authentication method to try to authenticate that it is truly
The one.
truly speaking, the one. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's kind of fun for collectors and flavor and all that kind of stuff. But I also understand if you're just like, oh, more money, more fancy cards that I'll never be able to afford and all that kind of stuff. So
Magic
I can kind of
30.
see. Yeah,
Magic 30.
exactly. Right, precisely. So I can kind of see both perspectives, but in terms of matching with the source material, I think having just one of one is really pretty neat. So that's where I'm at on it.
That's very interesting. Onique, what are your thoughts?
The flavor as she said, is fantastic. It makes a lot of sense for that to be a single version of this specific card. And if you still want to have the card, you can still get like the regular version of it, because it's just going to be a part of a set. You can open it up as a mythic, and it's just you have the card. The one version, like I don't know the story of Lord of the Rings. What language is it? Is this like Elven or something?
Mm-hmm. It's Elven. Yep.
Yeah. So you can't even read it. I mean, of course, you know what it says, but I don't know if that's an accurate translation or not.
Oh, you know what it says. You know what it does, right?
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm sure they have some very devoted nerds on their team that are making sure that it's translated. Yeah, like I had an ex-boyfriend once that wrote me a love letter in Elvish, so they are people out there that will love that kind of thing.
That's cool.
So,
well, we are talking about Wizards of the Coast here. If you look at the card, what was it? The conductor and the conduitor. Remember that guy, Onique?
Oh yeah, the thunder conductor.
Yeah,
and the thunder
collector. Yeah. So they do make mistakes, right? Now I want to step outside of the box for a second. I know it's uneasy when I do that, like that little moment of silence that's awkward, So there's two things I want to bring up. First one is kind of like on the negative Nancy side, and the second one's a little lighthearted and joyful. Okay. JJ, I've mentioned him a couple of times on the podcast. He's one of my friends, and he brought up an idea the other day. He goes, I don't think they printed that card yet. I'm like, of course they did. They said you can find it in this or that or this or that. He goes, nope, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, from a business perspective, if I told you it's in one of these packages and then all of a sudden little Timmy found it, why is anybody else going to buy this product? I think he brings up a good point.
I can see that, though I think that if someone does find it, they're probably really not going to say anything until like later on.
Now,
because they want to make sure they're in a safe, secure location and they're not going to get assassinated quickly for it or something.
Sure.
Because this literally can go for tens of thousands of bucks.
I hear rumors of 7 figures.
7 is excessive.
I've definitely heard 6 for sure.
6, yes.
Now, the second thing I wanted to bring up was the light-hearted side of things, and this is I find it entertaining. I do, personally. I think the fun's going to happen as soon as it gets found. That person's going to sell it, and then that person's going to sell it. The next person's going to sell it. I think Wizards is waiting. They're like sitting back, rubbing their hands, right? Everybody on the board committee are like, what's going to happen, dude? You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's going to be, I open it and it's mine forever. That's just not how it works. I think the entertainment's going to happen once the first person sells it. And then another person brought up the idea when I told them that the other day. They said, you think they'll get it graded? Ooh.
It's going to be graded. If it's open and found, it's going to be graded.
You know that for a fact, buddy?
Well, I don't know for a fact. I see one of two things happening. Sure. Someone's going to open it who doesn't understand what they just opened, and they're just going to put it in a sleeve and play with it or something.
Or somebody like Moxman.
It could be like, just a couple of kids who just don't really know what a tournament is. They just put, they might ask a question like, I don't know what this says.
Right.
And then it might just throw it in the binder and just not do anything with it. But if
or be like,
but if like someone who is very enfranchised with the game, they find it, they're probably going to sell it to a collector, or like the highest bidder will probably be someone like Star City Games or Channel Fireball or TCG Player or something that will buy it for a lot and they'll hold on to it. I don't think it's going to get resold from like person to person to person, because like, if we're hearing six figures or seven or whatever it is, no average person is really going to have that amount of money that they're going to be willing to pay for a card.
Well, Posty might get it.
Well, yeah, but then exactly, Post Malone is not an average person. I mean, he's put 800,000 in a Black Lotus, didn't he?
He puts his pants on the same way you put your pants on.
Yes, but his pants are diamond studded.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of frequent talk in my circles that are sort of heavy, like specifically the Twitter commander circles, right? So there's like multiple sort of niches there.
Sure.
About like what happens if, there's lots of talk of the rules committee and the all of the news and the gossip and the stuff that flows around, and it's like, well, your average player doesn't know any of this. They might not know that the committee even exists. They don't know that this Twitter drama is going on. They don't even know about any of this. So it'll be interesting to see if somebody opens it. I mean, I hope the one of one will be, sort of those kind of like in Brothers War, right, where you had like the stamped collector cards.
Serialized, yeah.
Right, serialized, that's word, yes. So hopefully that would be enough to recognize it, but I guess we'll see. It'll be kind of a fun mystery if it just goes unopened or we don't ever hear anything about it. Or it'll be like all over the place of just like someone fancy bought the very expensive thing for many digits, and that'll be that.
Yeah, but then people probably roll their eyes like, oh, of course this person bought it. Like, well, yeah, of course. What do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing. I know sometimes it's frustrating to sort of want something like that for yourself. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a collector's thing most likely. Yeah. So I kind of hope sometimes someone just sleeves it up and plays with it. I think that would be like sort of fun.
To remind the listeners, when does that set come out again? When is it released? The Lord of the Rings?
June 23rd.
June 23rd. That's right around the corner.
Gosh, I wouldn't say it's creeping up on us.
I mean, you're literally April right now.
Yeah, the beginning.
I know. Don't remind me.
Yeah. I'm in Arizona, man. The heat is on. Okay. The heat is on.
I know. I'm in Texas, so
Texas.
Spring is here. Texas,
that's where all my exes live.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm. Well, the stars are big and bright deep in the heart of Texas.
Speaking of which, you mentioned Twitter earlier, right? And the rules committee and all that.
Yeah.
I found you on Twitter. I've been a fan of your content for a long time now. If anyone's listened to this, absolutely. If anyone's listened to this podcast for the first time and they hear you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they find you? How do they find your content? What is your content about? Yeah.
Well, I would say the mainstay is probably Twitter. So MsEldritch, MS. So Ms, like a, divorcee, or, Ms. Eldritch, is how you find me on Twitter. So all one word. And then I have a podcast, with Adam the Gathering. It's currently on hold. He, just became a father. So we're kind of in the middle of, we want real life priorities to, be sort of the front and center. So, but we have a couple episodes of that. And then I'm also going to be restarting streaming EDH as well. So I do that on Twitch by the same username. So, but for the most part, I'm on Twitter. I'm kind of one of those terminally online people. So come find me. I like to post selfies and talk about Eldrazi and Magic and all sorts of other stuff. So if you like any of that, come find me.
Now, Onique, you were excited when I told you it was going to be her as a guest, right?
I'm excited when we have a guest, but yeah, I was excited for Miss Eldritch. No, I mean,
I'm sorry. Offense. It's totally fine. No, I don't take any offense to it. I'm an extrovert, so I love just like, do I get to meet a new person? Do I get to have a conversation about Magic? Do I get to make a new friend? Like, I'm over the moon. So, don't worry.
I'm typically an introvert until it comes to Magic, and then I just it's hard for me to shut up sometimes. But like because I totally lost my train of thought. But no, when John told me that you'd be on the show, then yeah, I was excited because I know who you are. I've seen your content. Because like I said, I'm not like a lot on Twitter. I just follow some people and just kind of keep up with what's going on. And because the world of Twitter, the Magic world on Twitter is entirely different than what's going on Facebook. Because I'm big on Facebook and Magic.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of casual unenfranchised players who don't really know what's going on, and the shuffler's rigged.
You would almost
I don't understand the rules, but like on Twitter, everyone, at least the ones that I follow, are very professional. They know exactly what's going on. They are pro players, experienced content creators. They know what's going on, and you're one of them. So like, sweet, you're going to be on? Hell yeah, let's go.
I appreciate that.
It's like one community, but two worlds is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, and then you have Reddit too, which is, the basics.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of conversations specifically around, and this one is, is pretty specific to Commander. There's a lot of like Rule Zero conversations. So there's a lot of like, we want to have certain types of etiquette and certain types of, here's how to be welcoming to new players, and here's how we run our things, and here's the type of discussions that we like to have. And that's not, if I just go sit down in an LGS, like that's not a thing. They're not going to necessarily know about that. So it's kind of a balance of like, being a part of the Twitter sphere, but also recognizing that there is a huge chunk of Magic players that do not interact in the same, like you said, the same digital world that we do.
Yeah.
So, you got to make sure you're keeping all those folks in mind too, because you don't want to just be like, we're very fancy Twitter people, we have it all figured out. Like, that's not productive for anyone. It's, we just want to make sure that as we dip into whatever worlds we're in, we have kind of the best and most welcoming kind of orientation, I guess. So, you just want to be welcoming of new people and bring them in and try to give them the best experience, because you had other people that gave you a great experience, and we just want to pass it on. So, yes, it's lots of different hands.
That was well said, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
I guess just imagine me clapping right now.
Perfect. I will take the applause.
What prevents you from clapping right now? I don't. You're just. What are you doing?
Oh, cut it out, Onik. We're going to take a quick commercial break.
Imagine it.
When we come back, we're going to talk about MOM spoilers, level up, and much more. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. And before we get back into it, guys, I just want to give a big shout out to Will. Will, I bet you're listening. Are you truck driving? This is our Patreon Will I'm talking to. I'm not sure if he can hear us. Maybe he can't hear us. But I know
he can. He just can't access it if he is driving.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he's my favorite. Not just because he's a Patreon, but
if you are driving, honk and just scare the shit out of someone around you.
Right. There you go. Yeah, Will, I know you can hear us. But
well, hi from Texas as well.
Hi from Texas. Now, listeners, if you like what you're hearing and you want to help sponsor the podcast, just head on over to the podcast and click the support button. It should be that easy. But let's get right back into it. We got mom spoilers. I know you made a joke about it a while back. You got bro for Brothers War, and then you got mom, right? I'm waiting for dad and sis to come out.
So dad could have been Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And we actually talked about this last night at Friday Night Magic. They're like, what could have been sis? And then one of the battle cards was revealed to be Invasion of Segovia, which is a miniature world. So I just joked that Segovia is small as the next set, and that could be sis.
There you go.
I just got a message from our patron, Will. I quit driving about 2 months ago.
What?
There you go. I know you can hear us, right? I know you can hear us. Well,
there's no honking then.
Well,
hi anyway, even without the honks. We appreciate you.
I thought you'd pop in and say hi to us at least, but all right, bud. Let's get over to some mom spoilers. We'll only cover a few things, right, Onik? Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, it's not that it's a big set as far as like hard quantity, but there's a lot going on because it's literally like every plane, every the entire multiverse is at war with the Phyrexians. I'm sure you kind of know what's going on with the story, not the details, but the Phyrexians are invading. So
Well, we did figure
going
out
all over the place.
what battle is, right?
Yes, and I was way off at my guess.
So was I, by the way.
Yeah, but they're pretty cool. So they are double face cards. The front side is Battle-Siege, and Siege is so you it's a permanent that you cast for the casting cost for the mana value. Let me find one example. Let's go. Hold on, let me just not prepared for this.
I'm looking at one. I guess you got to click on it. Yeah, you click on it. So this one's, I'll just blow it up. Invasion of Kamigawa. 1 blue, 3 other. Battle/siege. As siege enters, or as a siege enters, choose an opponent to protect it. You and others. You notice I'm leaning my head right here to read this, right? Can attach it or attack it. When it's defeated, exile it, then cast it transformed. When Invasion of the Kamigawa enters the battlefield, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls, or put a stun counter on it. If a permanent, now this is in parentheses, if a permanent with a stun, okay, so the reminder text of what a stun counter is.
Yeah,
and the flip side is Rooftop Saboteurs, creature, Moonfolk, Ninja, flying 2/3, and whenever Rooftop Saboteur deals combat damage to a player or battle, draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
I gave one example.
Yeah, so the invasions they're all invasions. I think they said it could be 36 of them, and each of them are a different plane. So again, really? John, I'm so glad we went over the Rabia scale.
Rabia scale, yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about all the planes that I knew of at the time. I did skip some very obscure ones that really didn't make any sense to me, but I maybe skipped like 2 or 3 of them. So some of them are.
So it's going to be like Invasion of Chandalar, right?
Yeah, there is Invasion of Chandalar. Yeah. But for the example that you gave, Invasion of Kamigawa, this will cost 4 mana. So you're paying 3 and a blue to cast a battle, enters the battlefield, and you're pretty much designating an opponent to say, hey, you're defending this. So in a sense, you can kind of say that, hey, we're on Kamigawa right now, and I'm attacking you. When you attack with your creatures, you can either attack your opponent or attack the battle.
Wow.
It has quote unquote life.
Like loyalty. Okay, I see it.
Like loyalty. I don't know what the name of the counter is. I need to look at the rules again. Mm-hmm. But it's let's just call it loyalty for right now. It's not called loyalty, but let's just pretend it's loyalty for right now. It has 4. So whenever a creature deals damage to it, or whenever a spell can deal damage to it, because you can like lightning bolt the battle, which sounds odd to picture, but you can do that. You remove these counters from it, and once they hit 0, then you flip it. So if I cast Invasion of Kamigawa, John, I'll give it. You're not giving it. I still have.
I just found
the battle under my control.
It's called defense.
Yeah.
So it has a defense of 4.
Oh, okay. Defense of 4.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I don't know if they're like defense counters.
Yeah, it is. It's defense counters.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. That's cute.
Yeah. As a siege enters,
we learn as we go, you know.
As a siege enters, choose an opponent to protect it. You and others can attack it. When it's defeated, exiled, then cast a transform. So yeah, so when I attack you, I can either choose to attack you as a player, or I can attack the siege or the battle card.
Wow, man. Some of these cards are pretty sick.
Yeah, which is it's gonna make. I thought this was gonna be kind of like a limited gimmick, but the amount of rares and mythics that they're printing of these, and just a total quantity of them is going to be like 36 of them.
Wow,
they're going to kind of be in constructed as well.
Oh yeah, man. I'm looking at a lot of rares and mythic rares. This is crazy.
It's interesting.
Is it really going to be? Is it really going to be mythic? This heavy with mythics and rares?
I don't know the quantity. Like I heard there's going to be 36 of them, so my initial guess is going to be like 12, 12, 12. I mean, 12 mythics for battles is actually really high because there's not a whole lot of mythics to begin with. So it might be, I don't know, like
50, no. I'm looking at a lot of mythics here, buddy.
Yeah, I was saying Innistrad's a mythic. Got lots of rares.
Yeah.
We've got Ravnica as a mythic. New Phyrexia as a mythic. Chandelar, Tarkir. Yeah, there's a lot in here.
I know, right?
And those are just the ones that we know of so far. So if there's 36 of them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard sort of the perspective from at least Commander is sometimes people are reluctant to go to combat with each other. Just because, you know, it's a little different when either I'm not in a kind of a competitive format or an arena where I'm clicking buttons and there's like a screen so I don't necessarily see my opponents. But with 4-player and being slightly more casual vibes, sometimes it can be kind of hard to be like, okay, I guess I'm going to swing my giant creature at you. Sorry. And so there was sort of this like the battles kind of give everyone a benefit and also incentivize combat. So instead of you know feeling bad that you're swinging, you know, you get a chance to like, well, you defend the battle, I'm going to swing it at you, and then you kind of encourage some combat stuff. It
provokes it, not to be confused with the mechanic provoke.
Yes, right. Yeah. Provoke. Nice. Yes, that's a great word for it. Yep.
Nice. Which I'm looking at the word convoke all over the place here. You know, I see it in 2 cards back to back: Knight Errant of Eos and Ramasan Greatsword. 2 good cards, by the way. But both of them back to back have convoke on it, so I'm like, like they want to.
I'm building I'm building a in Commander, so probably not in the other formats. But a Rakdos burn deck, and City on Fire has it's basically the same thing as Fiery Emancipation, but it has convoke. So if I'm making a bunch of tokens that are going to hit you really hard, I can just convoke them into this enchantment. So I'm excited to see it. I feel like in my mind I only know convoke is like a white sometimes Selesnya thing. So I'm excited to see. I feel like there's a bunch of really exciting stuff in this set that's going to come out. And either, you know, and Surveil is back too. So you got Surveil, you have convoke, you've got incubate. I mean, there's it's I definitely think there's going to be a kind of a lasting mark with this set on Magic in general.
Yeah, the battles should be pretty interesting in multiplayer formats. I'm sure I'll hear about it from the other Commander players because as I don't play Commander, it's not for me. But it does look very interesting. It does probably introduces a whole new dynamic for multiplayer. Convoke, like you said, it was primarily as like a Selesnya mechanic, so green-white. And now it seems to kind of be it's in all the colors.
It is. Yeah. I see it in black and red. Yeah.
Flavor wise for the set, it makes sense because it's like everyone's pitching in to fight the Phyrexians. So I could see how like you could tap creatures that cast spells from all over. Incubate is a brand new mechanic.
So is backup. I see backup. It doesn't look too hot though.
Transforms.
Can you repeat that?
Say it again.
Can you repeat that?
There's all sorts of fun.
Where let me find an example of incubate.
Incubate.
Yeah, it's sort of I'm gonna have to like read the text, but it's sort of a like kind of casting things face down and they become like a 0/0 artifact, but then you put counters on them and it's kind of an interesting thing.
You talking about the morph?
It's incubate.
Oh, nice. Well, okay.
It's kind of morph. So
it's a little bit morph, a little bit not morph. But okay. It's super interesting.
So yeah, the reminder text, rules text is create an incubator token with 3 +1/+1 counters on it.
Oh.
And it has pay 2 mana, transform this artifact, and transforms into a 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature.
Which it would keep the counters, right?
So yes, because it never leaves the battlefield. So face up is, I would imagine, I don't even know if it's an artifact. I don't even know if it has to have a permanent type. Create an incubator token with 3+1/+1 counters on it. So, but it's not a creature.
No,
It's a token. It's a permanent that enters the battlefield.
it's an egg. It's an egg. It's an egg.
Oh, so it's only when you. Oh, so it's only when you flip it. See, yes, and
then now I'm gonna fight things.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I saw something about artifacts, but I could also be wrong. But yeah, I mean, I think that's I know sometimes people can get tired of product, but it's stuff like this that makes me really excited, because even if this set wasn't for me, or even if I am feeling a little burnt out, I think there's still some really interesting stuff going on that's going to kind of help change things or reinvigorate, or all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a little bit of something for everyone here.
Yeah,
in this set.
I'm just curious on this incubate, because it says it transforms into a 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature.
Mm-hmm. And it's basically it's an egg first.
Well, egg is a valid creature type, but it doesn't say. I mean, as far as like
transform this artifact, so it's an artifact.
Yeah, as far as flavor wise, yeah, it's essentially an egg, but it's not. There's no egg creature type.
But it's an artifact first. So, but you put down, like, I'm looking at Injector Crocodile, 2 black, 4 other.
That's actually the same thing I'm looking at too.
5/5 creature. Well, it's the first one I found with the what incubate thing on it. Anyway, so it says when this dies, incubate 3, and it's got a reminder text of create an incubator token. It doesn't say creature or anything, right? With 3+1/+1 counters on it, and 2, which you pay, transform this artifact.
Oh yeah, hey, that makes sense. So it is an artifact. Okay,
right. So it's an egg, which I'm not saying is a creature at all. It's just a little egg that's sitting there. It's an artifact, so it's a mana rock. That's not even a mana rock, but it's got 1/1 counters on it, and then you can transform it into a creature.
Yep,
that's pretty sick, man.
It transforms into a beautiful, ugly Phyrexian.
That definitely sounds a lot better than this one I was reading a second ago. What was it called? Bubble Up or something. Hold on, I'll find it again, man. It was,
Bubble Up?
Yeah, it was something, man. It was crazy, dude. I was like, how is that good? Let me find it here. It begins with a B, I think. Then I saw one that didn't have any reminder text on it. I'll find it.
It has a lot of abilities.
Backup. That's it. Backups. Like this one's backup 2.
Oh, yeah.
Put 2
backup is totally different.
If there's another creature, it gains the following ability. And each color's got their own abilities, kind of thing. Not as sick as the other mechanics in this set.
Backup is also kind of cool. So yeah, when backup is on creatures, and it says, so backup N, so it could be a 1, 2, 3, whatever number it is. When this creature enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, which it could be itself or it could be something else. But if it's another creature, it gains the following ability until end of turn. So this creature, for example, this is Streetwise Negotiator. It's a 0/2 for 2 mana. And this text on the card says this creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So if you want to put this backup counter, which is a +1/+1 counter, on another creature, then that other creature will also gain the text box or the remaining text box of Streetwide Negotiator until end of turn. So if you're going to put a counter on something else, then that creature also gets that creature, or this creature assigns damage equal to its toughness rather than its power.
I can actually see Convoke being overpowered in this set.
I wouldn't say overpowered.
Oh, I would.
Okay.
I mean, right there, you just make that artifact a color and then tap it for a color, you know? I mean, I can just see this overpowered real quick.
Well,
coming from 30 years experience.
Yeah, but I say it again?
Yeah. I can see the Convoke being overpowered.
What was your reasoning?
Oh, just after 30 years of experience, man. Just looking at all the shenanigans after all these years, it's just pretty obvious.
I don't see it being overpowered personally.
Okay, City on Fire. Look at City on Fire.
Yeah.
I mean,
City on Fire is just, we've had this card before. Just it costs 2 less.
That's the one. Yeah, let's say that's what I was talking about. it's Fire Emancipation, but
Yeah.
I'm also doing like a token heavy deck, so it's going to be a little easier to do Convoke than other styles
Yeah.
or other decks, I suppose. Mm-hmm.
So I guess going back to my statement, with the limitations of the set, it's not going to be that overpowered. I see where Onique's coming from.
Yeah.
I see.
Well, and then in limited,
Yeah.
if you have, if you're able to go heavy in on the incubate, then you might be able to get things out a little faster.
Rankle's back.
I love Rankle.
Rankle
and Torbrand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I remember we mentioned this a while ago. They're going to team up. You're going to get this guy with this guy, this guy with this guy, this guy with this guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of team ups.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, it's the entire multiverse pretty much. But there's
You think they should have done that with this
12, 15
set though?
more?
The set that we're going with Invasion of All the Planes though. You think they should have done that with this set?
This is a set to do it. Absolutely. Because this set is literally talking about every single multiverse. Every single plane, rather. What other set would you do it in? I mean, I suppose you could have done it in War of the Spark.
Wow.
Actually, no, not even.
Now I'm looking at Baral and Karl Zev. Do you see this border right here? It looks
Wait,
like
who?
a masterpiece. Baral
And
Karl Zev? Yeah.
Carl? Who's Carl?
Kari. Sorry. It looks like an L. Kari. So it looks like a masterpiece, invention, border. What's the word for this one?
Yeah, invention.
Oh, it's an invention. Legendary creature, human is an invention.
So
those were the artifacts, right? Yeah.
Yes. So so that's actually a really cool thing about that, because Baral and Karizev, they are both from Kaladesh. And Kaladesh was the plane that had that Inventors Fair that was very heavy on artifacts.
The
and that also had the set. Yeah, that also had to set up the masterpieces. So the card or the team or whatever get that special treatment of the
masterpiece.
of the masterpiece.
Okay.
Which is why also Ragavan, the Nimble Pilfer, who's going to be in the Multiverse Legends, is also getting that same treatment, because Ragavan is, I guess, buddies with Karizev, and that's why Ragavan has the frame of masterpiece or invention or whatever it is. I keep messing it up.
One last thing I guess I want to bring up as I'm looking at all these cards, because you see the sideways looking cards, right? the battles.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see the flip cards, you see extended art, you see full frame, you see the masterpiece. Where was I going at with this? Let me scroll back down for a second. Why would you I'm just going to bring this question up again, right? Why would you want regular Magic the Gathering cards when you can have extended art, full art, the foil, why would you want a regular Magic the Gathering card? Like
budget.
Yeah. Yeah. Uncle John loves budget friendly, I mean, at least to have it in my possessions better than not having it at all, right? I mean, hey, when I pulled that Phyrexian, you weren't there last time at LAX with me. I pulled out that Phyrexian Jace. It wasn't foil.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't foil, but it was just a regular Phyrexian. I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been just a regular, but who wants regular when you can have Phyrexian or a foiled Phyrexian but you're right, budget. Yeah. Just a question that just keeps arising every now and then. When you look at all the different versions of cards they have,
This set is...
Yeah, I was going to say there's different preferences between people. Like, for instance, I gravitate more towards extended art than foils. But I know there's a lot of people that love foils and they love foiling out their decks. And so I think it's just a nice variety. And so generally speaking, at least for me, I would prefer to have the card than not have the card. So if I can't get extended art, then yeah. And not all the cards have that. So it's a nice, I'd rather have the card if I can. And then if there's a nicer version, different, alt art, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the benefits of having different styles of arts and card printings is just exactly that. You get a chance to find what you like. Are you really into secret layers? Are you into showcase art? Are you into, borderless?
Like
what
Sheldon Menery said on our podcast, self-expression.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I'm seeing one that's
People
really
like the
strange.
white borders, old borders, all sorts of cool stuff.
I like white borders, by the way. I have no problem with white borders.
Ew.
I see a card here that's really interesting. C double. The spell can't be copied. Interesting.
That's a blue one. Of course, you're looking at the blue section.
Yeah, the spell can't be copied. I don't know if that's ever been printed on a Magic card ever before.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, choose one definitely has been printed on a Magic card before, but this spell can't be copied. That's interesting. One of the abilities is reminds you that that mythic mirrored thing. You know,
Myriad?
Myriad, yeah. You know, talking about where you can double the permanent or double the ability or whatever.
Populate? What do you mean?
It's on Arena, so it should be in your cube. The mythic card that's an artifact, you can pay 2 to copy an activated ability and tap it. Or
the one.
Put down another permanent of another type or whatever.
It's an artifact that has Nahiri on it. From
it's got the pyramid looking thing on it.
Yeah, Hedron.
Hedron. The Hedron, yeah. Hedron, yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I just can't think of the name right now.
I know, I always want to say mirrored, but copy target spell. You may choose new targets for that copy. But this spell can't be copied. I see why.
Oh, sure.
It can't be copying itself. We got an infinite loop that you can't break. That's great. Any response?
Well, so then you get chaining, right? Then you get. I know in standard for a while, there was a bunch of is it cards being all chained together because you'd the next spell you cast, copy it. Well, then we're going to copy the next spell that you cast.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Copy it again, and yes, you get whole chains of which happy for Is It players. I'm not one myself, so it's interesting that they're can't copy it, so that you're not doing, probably just so it doesn't get stuck in those chains things. But that's really interesting. I would be definitely intrigued to hear if that's the first time that's ever been printed.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I don't remember ever seeing that printed on a card before. This spell can't be countered,
Oh, that's everywhere.
Yeah, but this spell can't be copied. That's pretty cool, man. So we got a lot of cool stuff that we found out from the new set. Of course, there's going to be more to come.
I really like the tag team stuff, though, which I think is actually also going to be pretty exciting for Commander for a lot of build rounds. Like you mentioned,
and Dina. Look at this.
Yeah, just Baral and Karizev. There's Borgmos and Fibblethip, Drana and Linvala, Arant and Giada. There's a lot of them. Hidetsugu and Kairi. Was it Kogla and Yadaro?
Wow, yeah.
This ton.
This one right here, 1 black, 1 green, 1 blue, 3/4 body. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. You can tap it, sacrifice another creature, draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand in the battlefield tapped. If you control 8 or more lands, repeat this process.
Which one is this one?
Once. Zamone and Dina.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool. I've run a few decks like that before. That sounds pretty cool. I'd build around it. All right, well, that's going to be a good segue into our last segment, which is called Level Up. And this week, Onik, what do we got for Level Up? The lore?
Story.
Yeah, the lore.
I mean, it's pretty much like what we've been already talking about.
Well, I mean, I just read the flavor text. Does that count?
Yeah. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Right.
I mean, as we know, the story of March of the Machine is basically wrapping up this entire story that's been going on for a while now. I think it might even have started in Eldraine. But the story is pretty much come to its conclusion of essentially the Phyrexians losing and that the good guys winning. But they just don't okay, we won, because we still have one more supplemental set coming up, which is March of the Machine, The Aftermath, which is where I was going to talk about what's left of the multiverse, what's left of our heroes.
Right.
We don't know any details of that, but there's a lot of questions that have come up. For example, Vorinclex. Vorinclex was decapitated. He's dead. And people kind of got upset about this, how Vorinclex died. Or not how, but to who. And it's
the guy you said to hold my beer to.
I mean, quite literally. Like the text has said like something about it's like Shella, a Zolfiran warrior who can drink her comrades under the table. She just took her sword and just cut off Vorinclex's head, and people got upset about that. Like, oh, who's this random person that never heard of before, cutting off her head, blah blah blah. But like to me, my understanding is that the Phyrexians prepared for battle of what they knew existed.
It was Questing Beast, because Vorinclex looked at Questing Beast when he got printed. He was like, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, and Vorinclex was like, hold my beer.
I mean, Plex also has a lot of text, so I make sure all the prayers have a lot of text on the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Questing Beast. Okay, insert laugh track here.
I love Questing Beast.
But I don't follow the lore like you guys do, apparently, because we talked in the pre-show. You two can talk circles around me with the lore. The last time I even paid attention to the lore, as much as I'd like to admit, was like 2008. Like, I know the whole Gatewatch thing, and now we're going, of course, with Kamigawa. I don't even know if there was a storyline with Kaldheim, was there?
Well, that's how it kind of started. Like Vorinclex was the one who stole like part of the world tree, or stole seeds from the world tree, and Vorinclex took it over to New Phyrexia and planted it.
Mm-hmm.
That
tree. Why is Vorinclex on Kaldheim? Like, he shouldn't.
Yeah, and then Nissa, who was completed, was the one who pretty much nurtured this tree, and with her corrupted power or whatever,
she brings up a good point. Why
she was the one who grew that tree into the Realmbreaker.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been going for a while. I think that's sort of the tough part of writing stories like these. Is I know that I think everybody sort of wants like a big, epic, meaningful, big, giant, horrible battles, right? But I think that they've done a good job of like sprinkling things. Elspeth has been around for forever, right?
Right, yeah.
And then she had her own backstory and multiple cards, and then there's Theros, and then New Capenna, and then she shows up as this angel. So I think that they've done a good job of sprinkling things through. And it's funny because I've heard spoilers, please go away if you haven't paid attention to the story from the last like set or two. But I heard a lot of people really displeased with Tamio being completed.
Right.
And then you turn around and have Planeswalkers and beloved characters that were completed and then were uncompleted, and also complaining about that. And, I feel like the writers had a really, sort of tall order to fulfill.
It's all drink too, right?
I want to give them credit for it. Yeah, exactly. I think that they had a lot of. It's sometimes hard to make people happy, but I want to recognize that. They just had a tall order to fulfill with their storytelling. But I like that it's been sprinkled through, even if people haven't always been paying attention. The signs of this coming have been around for a while now. So. And it's probably also hard to balance between the people that read the stories and the people that don't read the stories. So,
is completed dying or no?
No.
Because you can have, Mm-hmm. No, they just become Phyrexian, basically. There are planeswalkers that were completed and died. There were some that were completed and didn't die. There were some that didn't get completed and died. So, there are different things.
What about getting completed and then uncompleted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's hope. Mm-hmm. There's hope for your favorite planeswalkers still.
Yeah. So, for example, you can look at the card that was spoiled it's not really spoiled. It's the card Negate. It's going to be printed in March of the Machine. Just your regular old counter target non-creature spell. But if you look at some of these cards on the bottom left corner, it says Story Spotlight. This is highlighting a very specific moment or scene or situation in the actual story. Not all cards have this.
Got it.
But the art and the flavor text will have a strong reference to it.
And how is it promoted? How do they tell?
Story Spotlight.
It says on the card?
It says on the card.
Whoa.
Look at Negate from March of the Machine. It's a picture of Ajani, who the picture of it is literally half Phyrexian Ajani and half normal looking Ajani. You can't quite see the full normal looking Ajani because it's just him with his armor, but you kind of see some fur and flesh there as opposed to just like muscle and bone. The flavor text says Teferi gave him time, Karn gave them a chance, but it was Malira who paid the ultimate price to free Ajani from Phyrexia's grasp. So in the story, Malira, the card from the previous said Malira the Living Cure, like she pretty much gave her life one way or another to cure Ajani. So he's alive and well, I assume, but I don't know if he's still a planeswalker, if he still has his spark or not. That part I'm not sure of. But there's a lot of story spotlights.
Mm-hmm. But there was also several instances of that where there were planeswalkers that sacrificed things, or through their actions. There were some that also gained a spark. So I think there's a bunch of different pieces moving of like sparks that were lost, new planeswalkers that have developed sparks. You've got completion. You've got there's a lot that's happened. It's getting packed in. It's pretty fun.
Well, speaking of fun, it's been a pleasure having you on today's podcast. I know I said it multiple times, and I'll probably say it multiple more times. Yep,
yeah, I'm definitely getting. So much.
Yep, I'm getting that look from the
talk about this stuff all day with y'all.
You're an amazing woman.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What was that Twitter address again?
It's at MsEldritch, so MsEldritch. It's the same for Twitter and Twitch. But yeah, most of my time is spent on Twitter, so come find me if you like what you've heard or want to talk Magic or anything like that. I love making new friends.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. It's about the gathering. And Onique, is there anything you want to say to our guests before we let the listeners go?
No, I don't have any witty April Fool's joke to say at the moment.
Speaking of which, if you go over to Magic the Gathering Arena today for April Fool's, they always like to do something, right? I jumped on there. I thought my computer was buggy, brother. Okay, it had lines going through it, like a cracked television from the 80s or something. And then it brought up a little table, like a wooden table with Cheetos on the table and a little energy drink on the side. I'm like, oh, and then a card was scratched on the back. So every time you open a pack of cards, the back, the rare before you flip it over, is all scratched like a real card would be from 93 or something.
It looks like what your unsleeved cards will look like.
Yeah, unsleeved, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at it, it kind of looks like an old table or a school desk, and it has like scratches on it. One of them says Teferi was here, WUZ. There's like an energy drink that's called Lightning Bolt. There's a slice of pizza. There's like onion rings that says Soul Ring. The fruit snacks is just called
Those are
fruit snacks.
supposed to be Funyuns, by the way.
Well, yes, but they're not going to, whatever you want to call them. They're not going to call them fun. They do their own little thing on it. There's an old cassette that says Goblin Balloon Brigade as like a name of the band.
It's so cute, though.
There's a lot of random things.
A little April Fool's joke, and I got fooled. At least somebody got fooled today, right?
Oh, people were confused, because the car sleeves was actually the best part, I think.
I don't know, man. I think the lines going through because I'm like, there's nothing wrong with my laptop,
Yeah,
it definitely got me, man. All right, well, that's your news for this week of the week of 4/1/2023, and tune into us next week. We'll get back on that weekly schedule. So we do apologize we haven't made an episode in a long time. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Follow the podcast. And until next time, keep spell slinging.